So you'll see it already has in here for us first name, last name, email address, message. Now we're not requiring them to enter in additional comments, so we can go ahead and delete this line that says message. But we do want to make sure that they put in their company name. So up here at the top, since that's the first field that we're asking for, we're just going to copy here where it says var first, copy that whole line, paste it above, and we're going to change this to company. And then the element name is called company. Okay, so this is basically just getting from the form the element called company and putting it into a variable called company. And again, so this we're getting the first name from the form, and we're just going to call it first. We could call it anything. Obviously, it's good to match it somewhat so you know what it is. Last name's coming from the form, we're going to call that last. And the email field from the form, we're going to call that email. So now, what we're going to do is we need to now make sure that they actually are putting in the fields that we want them to put in before they submit the form. So you'll see they already have some things in here. And so if we read through it, it says if first, remember this is the first name, is null, which basically means it doesn't exist, or first is empty, which is with those two quotation marks with nothing in them. So it's empty, there's no value there, or last is null, or last is empty. So that's what we're checking for. So it's basically just conditional. We're checking for these different things. So if first name or last name basically are not filled in, we're going to give them a pop-up alert, a pop-up box that says first and last name fields are required. And then if that is the case, we're going to return false, which in other words means don't submit this form. Stop right there because they haven't entered in those fields. So the first thing we want to do though is you want to make sure when you're prompting people to enter in fields that you do so in the order that shows up on the form. So the first thing we're asking them for is for their company name. So that's the first item we want to put here. So I'm just going to copy this here, the if until the closing braces there, and then I'm going to paste it above. So what I'm going to say here is I'm going to say if company is null or company is empty, and obviously last name doesn't apply, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to delete this. So this is what it should look like. If company is null or, these are these two pipe characters, or company equals, and it's two equal signs, equals empty, closing parentheses, opening curly braces. So then we're going to say in here, within the alert, please fill in your company name. Okay, so then the next thing will be the first and last name. So first and last name fields are required. And then I'm going to go ahead and take out this else. So if email is null or email is empty, we're going to have an alert, an email address is required. And let's go ahead and put these in double quotes to make it consistent here. And then we're not doing anything with the message. So we're going to go ahead and take that out. And let's actually take out everything here. Okay, so this is what it should look like right now. Now we do need to go back and add one thing in at the very end before your ending last curly braces, and that's going to be return true in semicolon. So basically that says if all of these things pass, right, so they have their company name, they have the first and last name filled in, they have the email address filled in, then we're going to return true, which means go ahead and submit the form, everything is good. Because remember, if it wasn't good, we're going to return false. Okay, so let's go ahead and save, and let's check out to see how it's working so far. So go to Firefox, bring up your form, go ahead and reload it. So we have our asterisk marks here, and if you click on Submit Request, it says please fill in your company name. You have this is the alert that we created, so I click OK, and now you'll see it gives me a focus, but if I go back to actually the form that we were working on, here we go. This is the original, the one that we were working on. And I click Submit Request. I says, please fill in your company name. I click OK, but it doesn't prompt me back into this box. So I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know where to go. It would be much easier, like on my example that I showed you, if the focus would go back into that box. So this is how you do that. Go to Aptana Studio. Right after the alert, before the return false, you're going to put in my form, which is the name of your form. Again, make sure that the casing is accurate. dot company, that's the name of the field, dot focus, beginning parentheses, in parentheses, and then a semicolon. So basically you're saying, go put the focus on the field called company that's in my form. And that's going to put that cursor there. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the first and last names. Now you could also do it where you could check for validation for first and last name separately, do first name on its own and do last name on its own. So if you want to experiment with that, please go ahead and feel free. So here I'm just going to put first name focus. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for email address. And I'm going to put the focus on email if they didn't enter in their email address. Now remember, the other things that we wanted to make sure that they filled in was that they selected something for the budget and for the how did you hear about us. So drop-down list work differently than the text boxes. So this is what we need to do. We're going to write var, which just basically means variable. So we're creating a variable called budget. And what we're going to do is we're going to go get the budget form element that's on our page. So we're going to go document.forms. Actually, you know what? So we don't type it mistakenly, go up here and copy the one for email. We're just going to paste this in. Now we're just going to change the element here to budget. So copy and paste can be your friend because sometimes you'll forget a closing quotation mark or a period or a semicolon. So just make sure when you do copy and paste it that you go back and double check to make sure everything looks okay. Okay, so now we're going to, let's just go ahead and we're going to copy the if statement here, again, so we don't lose any curly braces. So within the if statement, within the parentheses, we're going to write budget. So we're going to check our budget, and we're going to say equals, so double equal sign, select one, in quotation marks, in parentheses, beginning the curly braces, and we're going to say alert, please choose a budget. And then we can go ahead and put our focus and return false. So this is saying if on the drop-down list budget, what is selected is select one, that basically means that the person didn't select an actual option, less than 5,000, 5 to 10,000, and so on. So we want to prompt them to go choose a budget from the list. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with how did you hear about us. So we're just going to copy this. We're going to copy this here. We're going to paste it. And we're just going to change this variable to hear about us. That's what it's called, the drop-down list. And we're just going to change that to hear about us. And then please choose how you heard about us. And put the focus there. We have return false, and then make sure after that last curly braces we have return true, and then you have your final curly braces closing the entire function, and then you have your ending script tag. So make sure all of that is in the right order. Let's go ahead and save. Let's go to our form here. There we go. Let's reload. Okay, so now we have everything is here. So let's go ahead and test it and see if it's working. So you need to do this on your form too. So click Submit Request. Please fill in your company name. Click OK. Go ahead and put in your company name. And don't enter anything in. Click Submit Request again. First and last name fields are required, so we're going to put in your first name. Don't put anything else in. Click Submit Request. Go ahead and put your last name in. Again, don't put anything else in. Click Submit Request. An email address is required, so go ahead and put in an email address. Click Submit Request. Please choose a budget. So we're going to go ahead and choose one. We'll say $5,000 to $10,000. And I'm going to click again. Please choose how you heard about us. So I'm going to say Facebook. And now, since nothing else is required, I could go ahead and submit the form. You can also experiment to make sure the check boxes are working, the radio button is working, and so on. And you can also type in any additional comments, and then you can submit request. Now remember, this doesn't actually go anywhere because we don't have a server to send it to, so it's just basically going to refresh the page and wipe out the values that you put on. But the main thing is that you want to make sure that the JavaScript validation that we put in is working. So once you've done that, now we want to actually go and validate the page itself. So just like you did in Fundamentals of Web Design, you're going to go to the Markup Validation Service page, click Validate by File Upload, browse, find your form, Click check. And again, just like in the web design class, you should see pass with one warning because the HTML5, they still consider it experimental. So that's why you have a warning. If you have any errors at all, scroll down and read to see what exactly those errors are. They are pretty good at explaining what they are, and go back to your HTML page, fix whatever it is, and go back and validate it again. Your page must validate in order for you to get full credit for that. Same thing with the JavaScript. Make sure that everything with the JavaScript is working. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to contact us. And also make sure that you zip up your form.html file here. So go ahead and compress it. And then you're just going to want to append to the beginning of it your name, just to make sure that we know whose it is, and then upload the zip file to FSO for your assignment.